Alright guys, welcome back to Dark Souls 3 All-in-One Guide. In the last episode I mentioned that you can farm the Corvians in the Road of Sacrifices to get a few items. The Corvian Great Knife, I farmed for it. Didn't take too long with the Crystal Sage Rapier. That's one reason you really want to have it for grinding in the late game. But the Blind Spot skill is what gets you around shields. And the Mailbreaker also does this, but you get this much earlier in the game in the High Wall of Lothric. It has a more direct attack towards the shields. And this was the big one, the Storyteller Staff. This is a rare drop, but I got it pretty early using the Crystal Sage Rapier again for item discovery. And it gives you infinite poison ability, so it'll come in handy later. But the Crystal Sage Rapier, there's no reason to not have this weapon in the first playthrough, because you're going to have to grind if you're going for all the achievements, and it's going to help. And I'm going to use the Blessed Shield now that we got in the last episode that I had missed in the previous episode. We're going to use that in the Farron Keep swamps to negate some poison damage. Now, as far as items go, you're going to want some charcoal pine resin, some purple moss clump, some fire bombs, and it also helps to have charcoal pine bundles in a pinch. You're definitely going to want fire damage in this area. Now, the reason I'm going to Farron Keep before going to Cathedral of the Deep is because I need to give a Pale Tongue to Rosaria in order to get a gesture in Farron Keep, but I can't get that right now either. I need to get the Dark Moon Loyalty gesture from Cyrus, and then I can give a Pale Tongue. I have to get that gesture first, so it's just going to be easier. Plus, I'm going to get a lot of stuff for my build here. Now, right off the bat, you want to come to the right. You'll pick up some Moss Clump, and you'll get your second Pyromancy Iron Flesh, your second of 27. You'll notice you'll be slogging through here after a while, so use your quick step on your dagger. Now, you could go to the bonfire to cure the poison, but at this point, I'm just like, I'm going to be poisoned this whole time. It doesn't matter. Get some fire bombs out, and you'll notice when you have a cluster of these slugs, if you just throw a couple of fire bombs, it's going to damage anything that's close by. So you can get 2 for the price of 1, sometimes even more, as you'll see later. Ultimate Estus 5 of 11. It's going to be right here to the right, and you're going to want to stick to the right when you go on your main path here, but we're not going to take that route just yet. I'm going to point out, this is the way to go. These stairs right here is your path forward. However, we're going to come back to it. I'm just going to point it. That's the way forward. It's very confusing in the swamp sometimes, but I'm going to make it as easy as possible. Come over here to get the Prism Stones. And these can actually come in handy. I think they give it to you for a reason, because people are going to get lost in this swamp. You want to stick to the far left here, because you do not want to aggro the Dark Wraith that is guarding the entrance to this little structure here. But we do want to rob him of the Sage's Coal. But we're going to be very quiet doing it. We don't want to aggro him. He's not an easy enemy to kill. So we're going to get that and then run back. Just stay to the far right now. Stay out of his aggro range. Now we can continue forward. We're going to take those stairs up. There's 2 grooves up here. One has a shield, one has a sword or a dagger. I like to aggro one at a time. You don't want to have 2 of these guys at the same time. They can put on the damage pretty quick. So I like to aggro this guy first. You can backstab them. You can kick their shield away. Whatever's going to work for you. But try not to aggro more than 1 at a time if you can help it. It's just going to be a lot easier. They do drop their weapons, of course. But don't worry, you'll get all that later when you're farming for Covenant items. And this will be your first light snuffed out. You have to do it 3 times. This is the first one. Now, when you enter this next area, your first objective is to take out the Mad Gru from behind. Do not aggro him. He will jump on your head and move your head side to side, and he'll gain a buff. It's just not worth it. You want to take him out first and just be very quiet as soon as you get through the swamp area here. Start walking. Don't run. Walk. As soon as you get parallel with this cross thing here, then you can backstab him. But don't try to do it any earlier than that. And he's rising up. Just go to town on him. Don't let him get on your head. Now there's a lot of Grus here just wandering around in the sludge. I like to aggro this one. Bring him to me because there's other ones in the vicinity and they'll flank you, and then you got a problem on your hands because these guys will stack the damage pretty quick. There's a great sword up here. A fan favorite for a lot of builds, I've noticed. And opposite we have some, I think it's more moss. The game gives you moss because they know you're going to need it. Now we want to get back to where we backstab that Gru to get to the next light we have to snuff out. Luckily, this time there's only one Gru guarding it. I recommend taking your moss clumps in these short interludes where you're going to be snuffing out the fires and fighting Grus. These guys are easy enough to backstab. Main problem is when you get multiple on your tail at once. With the second fire snuffed out, there are 3 Grus on the bridge. Here's what you want to do. You want to get a bow or throwing daggers or whatever, and you want to snipe this guy in the head or aggro him any way you can. He will not cross the bridge. He will always try to poison you, and he'll just go back to where he was. So his AI leaves a lot to be desired. So you just continue to snipe him until he's dead. There is no reason to aggro all 3 Grus at once. Now, either one will do. Just get one of them to come at you. Now, this time they will come out all the way towards you. And I usually just try to kick the shield out of the way. These wooden shields are easy enough to kick, but when you get to the Lothric Knights and the big dudes in the Cathedral of the Deep that have the big shields, you're going to want Patch's Ring to reliably kick them away. That's why I was telling you about the other daggers. You're going to want other ways to get around shields. And those are 2 pretty good options. A very important bonfire here. You can do pretty much everything right from this bonfire. You can get all the scrolls, you can kill all the Elder Grus, farm them if you want, because they're pretty good for souls, although they are a formidable enemy. And the boss room is straight ahead once you open the door. But first, let's get to our ultimate bonfires, second of 10. I recommend fire bombs and just throw them into this room. There's no reason to go in there guns a-blazing when you can just throw a bomb and have them all die at once. Of course, there'll be a few stragglers, but a lot easier this way. Second undead bone shard. Don't forget to burn it at Firelink. I always seem to forget. Now, dealing with Elder Grus. These things will kill you over and over if you're not careful. Fire is your friend here. If you have charcoal pine resin, these things will go down pretty easily. Fire bombs also work, but your best option is charcoal pine resin. Either either the quick version or the other version. I usually use the charcoal pine resin because it lasts longer, but in a pinch, if you have to have it, the bundles will work as well. What you want to do is watch his trunk. If it goes into the ground and stays there for a minute, he's going to do an AoE attack, and it's not good. Like right here, you just got to kind of pay attention to how long it's taking him to pull it up. If he pulls it up pretty quickly, then you're free to attack some more. Just keep circling him and attack with the charcoal pine resin, and he'll go down pretty quickly. And we're going to use this method pretty much the whole time. Now, basilisks. These things have been buffed since the other games. Their build up for curse is so quick, so you do not want to have a gang on you at once. I try to aggro them one at a time. Try not to run into a group of them. And try to attack from behind where you won't get sprayed. 2 is pretty dangerous, but any more than that and you're asking for it. I mean, you can barely touch the mist and you can see how quickly the curse builds up. Curse isn't as bad as it was in Dark Souls 1, but regardless, you'll still die. Here is your first scroll, your golden scroll. For me, this is going to be huge because I'm going to get the hidden body spell out of it, and it's going to be a constant for my playthrough strategies. Now we're going to go get the next scroll, the Sage's Scroll. It's on the other side of the swamp. We're just going to continue along this wall here. Along the way, we're going to kill a crab to get another ring. But our giant friend will help us dispatch the crab easily. He'll stun it and we can just repost it, as long as we're close to it. But I like to aggro this guy first because he'll flank you as you're going through the swamp. And when you're in the swamp, you just don't have a lot of mobility. And when you're getting attacked by multiple enemies, it's a recipe for death. So there's one on the right here. But the Lingering Dragon Crest Ring, another important ring for my build because it's going to extend the length of spells, which I want my invisibility spell to last longer than normal. But come over here to the white tree and wait for the giant to start shooting it. You want to be close to the crab though, so you can repost it immediately. I didn't get it the first time. And there it is, the Lingering Dragon Crest Ring. It'll be a huge ring for my build anyway. Make sure to loot the area, you'll get quite a bit of stuff. Make sure to pick up all the white branches because we need the giant to die eventually, unfortunately, to get the Hawk Ring. And we'll get that after Cathedral of the Deep because there's one more area where he'll help us. Now for this part coming up, I like to get my purple moss clump out and at the ready before engaging all these grooves here. And you want to be slow and quiet here around this tree because we want to backstab the one that's leaning against it. Backstab him, then if you shoot this guy, the other one won't aggro for some reason. You just don't want to have all of them at you at once. That's the key, pretty much. You just don't want to have to deal with 3 enemies at one time. Just do one. Now this is the platform we're going to use to kill the Elder Grooves. There's 3 of them we want to kill to get the items. We got to get the Black Bow of Ferris, the Ferris hat. I did this when I used this garb for my Indiana Jones build, but there's also a poison gem back there, although we're not going to be using a poison build because poison is pretty much useless in this game. Well, not 100%. We are going to use it once. But same as before, you just want to watch the tree. trunk, and if it goes in the ground for a while, just get away from it. Just start rolling around him. Charcoal pine bundle or charcoal pine resin will get you through pretty easily. And we're just going to continue to aggro one at a time until we're all dead. You can fight him in the swamp if you want. Here I just used the bundle because I was in a pinch here. If you don't have time to buff, you can see they do a lot of damage. The skulls do a lot of damage. You just don't want to get hit by his tree trunk because it will cause massive damage. And we get the Black Bow of Ferris from him, and we got one more to go. And we're out of Estus, but that's okay. We're about to hit a bonfire in a minute anyway, plus there's some Estus soup along the way. So just don't get greedy. Just keep rolling around. Just keep rolling around him, but watch whenever he pulls out like that, you know he's about to do an AoE. There's the poison gem and the Ferris hat. Now we're on our way to the next bonfire, and we're going to get the Dreamcatcher's Ashes, which is the most important item to get in this area because it will allow us to get the Dark Moon loyalty gesture from Cyrus, and we can buy Titanite shards now, which means we can get our weapons to +3. If you're hurting for Estus, there's some Estus soup here. And you'll get the Sunlight Talisman, Solaire's Talisman. And here's your Covenant item for this area. You'll have to farm for this later, and it is not fun to farm any of the Covenant items in this game. But we're going to make it as fast as we can possibly make it. But that is much later down the line. We're going to be doing that as the very last thing in the new game playthrough. We're going to need to go into the DLCs and get some rings that's going to help us, although those rings don't even count towards the achievement, but they're damn sure going to help you grind at the end. And trust me, you'll want all the help you can get. Crystal Lizard here has a Titanite, Twinkling Titanite. Now the Dreamcatcher Ashes. We'll need to give that to the Handmaiden, and then we'll have to reset the area to get the Dark Moon loyalty gesture from Cyrus. But before we do all that, let's go ahead and get our next gesture and achievement. We're going to go ahead and get some things ready for the mini boss here. I recommend Green Blossom and Human Pine Resin for this boss coming up. Mini boss. Master of Expression 13 of 26, Legion Etiquette. Just interact with the wolf, and if you join his covenant, you'll get an achievement. You're 11th of 43, the Watchdogs of Farron. Now, the Stray Demon up here, he's not too hard, but he can throw you off the cliff and insta-kill you, and he's got some pretty damaging attacks. But if you use dark damage, he goes down pretty quickly. And we just want to stay under his butt and just keep wailing on him until he's dead. It won't take long with the dark damage, trust me. But his soul will get you the Havel's Ring, which we'll get later. We don't really need it right now, but we are going to... Any boss soul that we get from this playthrough is going into rings. Except for the Crystal Sage Rapier, which I mentioned earlier. Everything else will go towards rings. Spells will be the next playthrough. Watch out for his stomp. Just keep going to town on him. I just try to stay behind him most of the time. But he'll do a quick attack with his tail sometimes. But for the most part, he goes down pretty easily. You just got to keep the pressure on him, and he'll go down. Now, later on, Havel's armor will spawn here after you deal with him at Archdragon Peak, but that's going to be quite a ways away, but we do have to come back to this area to retrieve it. You want to come this way in this secret area to get a couple of crystal lizards because they have large titanite shards, and you're going to need that for your next upgrade. You're still going to need 2 more, but we'll get those in Cathedral of the Deep, and we'll be able to upgrade to +5, our main weapon to +5. And it also has a miracle, the lightning spear. These are the only 2 crystal lizards that are important. The other one only holds a heavy gem, and it's just not worth it because you're going to have one of those lantern guys have an ambush ready for you. So I just ignore the crystal lizard that has the heavy gem. But kill these 2 to get the 2 large shards and get the lightning spear, of course. And there's also a shield here. Pretty decent one, actually. But yeah, this crystal lizard is a trap. It is an absolute trap. If you try to chase this crystal lizard down, the lantern guy is going to aggro everybody in the area. So just go for the lantern guy and ignore the crystal lizard. You're going to get a heavy gem anyway if you hadn't already. But they're still passive. Now the thief down there and all his buddies are still passive. So it's just much easier to not aggro all these guys. Every one of these enemies would be coming at you had you went for the crystal lizard. There just isn't enough time to feasibly kill the crystal lizard and kill the lantern guy. It just isn't going to happen. There is a way to get back if you go to the top of the stairs and drop back down, but we're just going to go straight to Firelink. We have quite the list to do here. First, we want to make sure we give the ashes to the handmaiden. The Dreamcatcher ashes have to go to the handmaiden. Go ahead and give them now. But you're not quite done. You need to reset the area. This will be your 14th of 26 gestures, but this is the only one that you cannot get if you put if you give Rosaria a pale tongue. So you have to get this first. Another reason I said again I didn't go to Cathedral of the Deep.
Hello again. I have a lesson.
We will fail her quest, but we got the gesture. That's all we needed. Now we're going to do some Firelink maintenance things. We're going to give the coal to Andre. We're going to upgrade our Estus flask. And we're going to reinforce our longbow to +2.
Be careful.
We have some tomes to give to our pyromancy guy, the 1 tome that we got.
Yes.
We're not going to buy any right now, but here's what we're here for. Orbeck. He's got all the stuff we want for this playthrough. Well, for my build anyway. Give him both sorcery scrolls. And for me, I'm going to buy the hidden body first. This will be the first sorcery that I buy in this playthrough. The first one for your achievement. Master of Sorceries, 1 of 34. Now, even though I'm not going to be using these sorceries, if you buy a specific amount of sorceries from him, you will be able to get a couple of rings. We're going to get the Farron Flash Sword as our second one. Then we're going to get Spook. This will come in handy for drops, because we're not getting the cat ring from Cyrus this playthrough. This will be our third sorcery. This is a pretty useless spell from what I understand. The Aerial Decoy. I haven't really experimented with it. but we still need to get it, of course. This will be our 4th sorcery. And the Pestilent Mist, your 5th of 34. After you buy the Pestilent Mist, you'll need to talk to Orbeck a couple of times, because he won't give it to you right away. The Young Dragon Ring, your 13th ring of 107. You'll need to talk to him twice.
I have something. You're a fine sort. You should have so on.
Now for the expression, keep talking to him, and he'll give you the next one. The Silent Ally.
How do you like this?
And he'll give you the Slumbering Dragon Crest ring after this. 14th ring out of 107. This ring is broken. It is the best ring in the game. I don't care what anybody says. It is number 1 in my book. It literally lets you sneak up on enemies and they don't know you're there. It's just, it makes the game 100% easier. And we're going to get the Saint's Ring for extra attunement slots since we're not investing in attunement right now. But this will help us as well. We're going to give a Divine Tome. Make sure you give her the Braille Divine Tome of Karim, not the Londor Tome. That has to go to another NPC later. And make sure to buy the Saint's Ring. This will be the 15th ring of 107.
Have a pleasant journey, Champion of Ash. I pray for your sake.
We're going to go ahead and put on the Slumbering Dragon Crest ring because, like I said again, it is the best ring in the game. It will help you grind a lot easier in the late game. It's just going to make your life 100% easier. If you're looking to make the game easier, this is definitely the ring you want. And plus, it's going to fit my playstyle for this guy, this stealthy character. And along with Hidden Body, we're really becoming a force. Now we need to get some shards to upgrade some more. And I'm going to buy the staff and the talisman. We're going to be using miracles and sorceries now. I could use the other staff that I grinded for, but it's going to be a little bit lighter. And I just don't need to have that yet. So weight is going to be an issue soon. I need to get my faith to 12 so I can use Caressing Tears, which will help me with poison and toxic. More importantly, toxic. Since there's not a reliable way to get any moss to cure it until you get the excrement ashes, and that's not even until Erithil, so it's nice to have this spell. But Hidden Body and Caressing Tears, it's going to come in handy in the future. Of course, we'll change these out as we need to do certain things. But for now, Hidden Body stays on 100%. It's not coming off of the slot. Again, we're going to be dealing with a Elder Gru, so we need to make sure we have fire. Well, if we do have to fight one, I think we bypass them with our new toys here. You want to have the Lingering Dragon Crest ring for your spell to last longer, especially when you're invisible. You don't want to come visible to enemies in the middle of something. So the longer, the better. We need to get to the 3rd fire, and we're just not even going to deal with this next Gru. We're just going to use our spell and bypass it. Plus, we're not making any noise anymore, because the Slumbering Dragon Crest ring makes us quiet. We don't make any sounds anymore, which is great for us, bad for the enemies. There's an armor set off to the left here. You might make sure you nab that. I'm just putting this on just for safety, but I didn't need to do it this early. This is the, I believe this is the knight set from Dark Souls 1, if I'm not mistaken. But there are a couple of Grus here, Elder Grus, that will ruin your day. You just don't want to aggro them. If you want to fight them, you can, and I've fought them. I do grind them later for souls when I want to get my weapons upgraded and to get money for shards, but it's just better to avoid them, in my opinion. Plus, this fits my playstyle now that I have my Hidden Body, Lingering Dragon Crest ring, and Slumbering Dragon Crest ring. Can make this game a lot easier, guys. But the problem is, we don't have a mana. We're going to rectify that later too. And again, that will fit with our playstyle. But we can't do that till Cathedral of the Deep. There'll be a ring that gives us focus points back whenever we do a critical attack. And since we're mainly going to be doing critical attacks, it's going to go very well with our build. If you want some extra souls, quite a bit of souls actually, you can kill Heisel again. He will invade you, but we're not embered. And I should have mentioned this at the beginning of the episode. You don't want to be embered when you go through here the initial time, because Heisel will invade you in the most inopportune moments. So you don't want to fight him if you don't have to. Make sure to kill this Mad Gru. You never saw that coming. But yeah, right here he will invade. If you want to, you become embered right here, and he'll spawn down there by that tree. He'll use his hidden body spell, and he'll try to sneak up on you, but you know he's coming. But he'll give you quite a bit of souls. I did miss one item. It's just a shard, and it's under the bridge of the Farron Keep bonfire. So if you want to get that, you can, but it's just one measly shard. I'm not worried about going back and getting it. I've already edited the video, so I didn't want to go back and... It's just one shard, guys. It's not that big a deal. But look how fast that curse builds up. It's amazing how fast. These basilisks cannot be ignored, man. They can get you quickly. But now we're just going to warp back to the bonfire. There's nothing for us here. But yeah, if you want the shard, it's under the bridge. Right here. Under your feet right here. Just drop down and get it. I don't know how I missed it, but it's down there. I do have to come back anyway to get the gesture, so I will pick it up in the next time I come here. Probably the next video. We do have to do Cathedral of the Deep, and then we have to come back and kill the boss here. We cannot kill the Abyss Watchers in this episode because it will ruin everything. We have to come back later. Because the summon sign will not be there if we kill the boss. So we can't kill the boss without getting that gesture first. So we have to go to Cathedral of the Deep, give a Pale Tone to Rosaria, come back here, and where those slugs were, where we got the Undead Bone Shard, well, there will be a summon sign, and we'll get the next gesture from Heisel. Then we can kill the Abyss Watchers. Try not to aggro the Dark Wraiths. Let them go to town on the Grus. Just don't engage them. It's not worth it right now. We're going to go get our next gesture real quick. We have to be embered for the summon sign to appear, however. And it appears right next to this bonfire. The Dual Bow gesture. Important to note, this summon sign will not appear if you're not in good standings with Uria. So you need to have 5 Dark Sigil Stones in your inventory by doing the first part of Yule's quest. And you need to have talked to Uria and be in good standings with her. And then this summon sign will appear. And you can get your 16th of 26 gestures, the Dual Bow. We're just going to send him home because he'll just aggro all the enemies, and we still got some stuff to do real quick. And with our new setup, these enemies will not see us coming. They will not hear us coming. It's just a great thing. They might stand up or whatever, but they won't turn around. And then important to kill this giant crystal lizard because we'll get 2 Titanite scales from it. And that will allow us to get our Crystal Sage Rapier to +2. And we're going to get our next sorcery, the 6 of 34, the Great Magic Weapon, right around the corner here. And you can open up the shortcut if you like. That leads back to the Road of Sacrifices. Master of Miracles, 4 of 36. This one's pretty missable. I couldn't find this in my mini playthroughs until I actually looked up a walkthrough. You have to drop down here. I never even thought to drop down here. And you'll also get a hollow gem. And we'll need 2 of those to infuse weapons that we're going to need for a cestus and a knife. Bandit knife. 1 for the achievement and 1 for making grinding a lot easier later. Now for our last gesture of the video. This one is a little tricky. If you aggro all the enemies at once and you're trying to wait for the guy to spawn, he'll die from the dark rays and he may not give you the gesture right away. It's best to just not let the enemy see you, or just kill all the enemies and then do it. But don't try to summon him with all the enemies around unless you have the hidden body and they just don't see you. Don't attack any grooves either, because you want the dark rays to be preoccupied with them instead of you. But this is the Master of Expression, 17 of 26, by my sword. I am going to kill these 2 grooves, however. Yeah, just summon him and hope that the dark rays don't see you or see him. I'm just going to put on Hidden Body one more time. And with the Lingering Dragon Curse Ring, it should be enough time for him to spawn and give us the gesture. And that's it. We cannot go to the boss yet. There's one more item up here we're going to get. Some black bug pellets. But we also want to stick around and loot all these corpses, because we might get a Covenant item or 2. Or a weapon or something. Because all these enemies drop their stuff. Plus we have the NPC that's taking a lot of the aggro for us. Might as well take advantage of it. Now, the Dark Rays can drop the Pale Tongues, which we're going to need 10 of for the Rosaria Covenant to get some items, but they're only needed. You only need 10 for the achievement, 30 if you want to get all the items. And the grooves can drop the other Covenant item for the Farron Covenant. And they drop their weapons as well. The Wolf Blood Swordgrass, or whatever it is called. They're going to need 30 of those. And that's a pretty tedious grind, to be honest. All of these grinds are going to be pretty brutal, guys. I'm not going to lie. But we're going to do the best we can to make it as fast and as painless as possible. And, of course, as efficient as possible. We are going to get one more ring before we end the episode. It's just a ring that the Handmaiden sells. We might as well just go ahead and get it. The life ring, which we're not going to ever use. It's also a gift you can get at the start, but I just like to buy it from the Handmaiden. This will be your 16th of 107, the life ring. 1,500 souls, and that's it. While we're here, before we end the episode, we're just going to upgrade our bow to +3. This will help us later. Now that we can get Titanite shards from the Handmaiden, we can get all our weapons to +3, which I'm going to do off video. But I'm not going to use souls to level. I'm not going to do that. If anything, I'm just going to buy consumables or just upgrade my weapons. And I usually farm the Elder Grooves in the swamp because they give a lot of souls. We won't be able to buy large Titanite shards until we get the Easterner's Ashes from Anor Londo, so that's a long way. And we'll be able to grind in the catacombs to get more large Titanite shards to get our weapons up anyway.
Be careful.
And that's it. I'll see you guys in the next one, Cathedral of the Deep.